Hi everyone. Today we will be studying the subject biology, and the unit that we will study today is organization of life. And in this video we will try to see few things. Which few things? First, we will see what is the cell structure and organization. Next, what are the plant cells and what are the animal cells. Then what are the different cells organelles which are present in animal cells and which are present in plant cells. And last, what are specimens? So we will see that how many types of specimens are there and how we can examine them. So we will study or we will try to clear our thoughts about all these things in today's video. So are you excited? Yes? So let's go. So let's first start with the cell structure, that what is cell structure. So in simple words, what we understand by reading this term, we understand that cell structure is something that is inside the cell, right? Something that is inside the cell which makes its structure. Okay. So now when we have to understand them in a better way, we can say that cell structure comprises of an individual components with specific functions, right? Here this is important. Essential to carry out life's processes. That means that any cell structure will have individual components. Now, what kind of individual components are we talking about? So, we're talking about different individual components that can be cell wall, that can be cytoplasm, and many other organelles which are present in the cell. We will see further. So, if I talk about particularly cell wall, then cell wall is present in only plant cell and it gives the rigidity to the cell, right? We already know it. So, this is an individual component of a cell. As a cell wall can be present or can be absent in animal cell. But if I want to say that I have a cell wall, then this is my complete cell. Can I say that? No. Why? Because cell wall is just an individual component of my cell. It is not my whole cell. So cell wall, cytoplasm, many different components or organelles are the individual components of our cell and they form the cell's structure. Now each of these component will have its specific function, just the way we said that cell wall has its specific function. And these different functions are essential to carry out our life's processes. Now let's see that how many or which structures are there in our cell. So the cell components can include the cell wall, cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus and different cell organelles. So these include chloroplast, mitochondria, then vacuoles and many other organelles. So we will see these kind of organelles in the video in the next part. Okay, so let's move. Okay, so before understanding any other thing, we know that cells are very tiny structures, right? We have already studied that cells are very tiny structures and we cannot see them by our naked eye. So we need a particular microscope to observe it. Okay, now I have one question. I have an animal. Just take example, I want to check the cells of my puppy. Can I take my whole puppy and put it on the microscope? Is it possible? No, right? I cannot do that. So what will I do? I will take some of the cells of my puppy. If I take the another example, I can say that I want to examine a plant or I want to see that how a plant cell looks. So what will I do? Will I take the whole plant and put it on the microscope? Will I be able to take the whole plant on my hands? No, right? We cannot do that. So what we will do, we will cut some slice of the plant and then we will put this slice on the microscope and we will examine this on the microscope. So this slice that we cut is called as a section. So now let's see that what is section and what are its types or kinds. So first we can say that this thin slice means if this is my plant, then I will take the thin slice of it. This is too thick, but let's say this is like this thin slice which is taken from the tip of the plant shoot. And this kind of thin slice is called as section. So if I ask you in the exam that define section, so you can define it that a thin slice taken from the tip of the plant shoot is called as section. Now sections are of two types. Which types? First is longitudinal section and second is transverse section. So let's try to understand this by taking an image. Okay, so you can see here that this is the transverse section. So what we do here, we cut the slice along the length of the structure. So we just take the length of the structure, and in transverse section we cut across the structure, like we just take this part. We want to see what is actually inside that, right? So these are the two types of sections, and now I'm sure you are clear that why we take the sections. Okay, now let's just move on to the cell structures, right? The basic topic of our video. So let's try to examine what is there inside the plant cell. Yes, so this is the plant cell. You can see here many different types of organelles. Which organelles are there? So first, let's start with the cell wall. Now this is the cell wall. It is made up of cellulose. So if I ask you in exam that a plant cell wall is composed of, then you can answer that it is composed of cellulose. So cell wall is the outermost membrane in the plant. Then comes the cell membrane, which is just inside the cell wall. So first there is cell wall, second there is cell membrane. Then cell membrane, there is cytoplasm. Now this is my cell, okay, and this is the cell wall which is covering my cell from the outside. Now this is my nucleus, and this is the jelly-like substance which is inside my cell. Now this jelly-like substance is called as cytoplasm. And many cell organelles are present inside this cytoplasm. So it is a living matter. Okay. Now next is nucleus. So nucleus controls all the activities of our cell. We already know it. Then that comes the mitochondrion, which produces the ATP. What do we call a mitochondrion? Yes, yes, yes. Yes, it is true. We call it as a powerhouse. Why? Because it produces the ATPs, which are the energy currency of our body or plant's body. Then next is permanent vacuole, something that is present inside the plant cells. Why? We will see later. And then next is chloroplast, which is important in the process of photosynthesis. Right? It traps the sunlight. So these are the different parts of plant cells. Now let's see animal cell, or what is there inside the animal cell. Yes, so this is here. We can see many different types of organelles are present in the animal cell. Which are they? So first let's start with the cell membrane. Here no cell wall is present. The outermost membrane in the animal cell is cell membrane. Then cytoplasm. Many different cell organelles are present inside the cytoplasm. Then nucleus, right, which contains nucleolus. Then nuclear membrane, which is the outermost membrane of nucleus. Then let's go to the different animal cell components or organelles. So then we have centrosome, we have endoplasmic reticulum, which are of two types, rough and smooth endoplasmic reticulums, ribosomes, Golgi bodies, mitochondria, vacuoles, lysosomes. So there are many different types of organelles which are present inside the plant and animal cells both. So now let's try to understand some of the cell organelles. Okay, so let's try to see some parts of the cells. So first, that is cytoplasm. What is cytoplasm? So cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance. Now I can say that cytoplasm is a living matter because many different types of cell organelles are present inside the cytoplasm. This cytoplasm is jelly-like substance and it contains 90% of water. Imagine how much water is there inside our cell. So we need very high amount of water in our body. We can say that almost 75% of human body is made up of water. Imagine 75%. Okay, so let's come back. Now the cytoplasm contains 90% water and rest 10% contains different dissolved salts and minerals. Then next is it is enclosed by the cell membrane. That means that if this is my cell and this is cytoplasm, so this is nucleus. So let's talk about the animal cell. So this is enclosed by the cell membrane. And if it is cell of a plant, then also it is enclosed by the cell membrane. And next is, it contains different cell organelles like mitochondria, nucleus, then many other vacuoles, lysosomes, and all these cell organelles. So we can say that cytoplasm is many very important structure of the cell, as it contains many of the cell organelles inside it. Okay. Then next is cell membrane. So cell membrane is also known as plasma membrane, right? You have to remember this term. This can be asked in exam, that what is plasma membrane. So you can answer that plasma membrane is a cell membrane which is inside the cell wall of a plant cell and which is the outermost membrane of an animal cell. So this is the cell membrane. If this is animal cell, this is the outermost layer, and if this is plant cell, then this is cell wall and this is cell membrane. Then we can say that this is partially permeable layer and it forms boundary around the cytoplasm. That means that this is cytoplasm which is inside in my cell. Now this cell membrane forms a boundary around my cytoplasm. And next, that it is partially permeable. Permeable means it allows something to enter and allows something to leave the cell. That means something can enter the cell and something can leave the cell. All these things are controlled by the cytoplasm or cell membrane. And what it do? It prevents the cell contents from escaping. Why? Because it is a protective layer. It encloses the cytoplasm, and we know that all the cell contents are present inside the cytoplasm. So it is covering the cytoplasm. That's why no cell content can escape from it, right? Then we can say that it also controls what substances enter and leave the cell, right? Because it is a partially permeable membrane. So it will control that which substance will enter and which substance will leave. Next is, what is cell wall? So cell wall, it is tough non-living layer which is made up of cellulose surrounding the cell membrane. So this is the plant cell, this is the cell membrane, and the cell membrane has one protective layer that is called as cell wall. So it is non-living and it is made up of cellulose. So we have to remember this. And it surrounds the cell membrane. And what do we do? So the function of the plant cell wall is that it prevents plant cell from bursting. Bursting means to break apart. That means that if many or much amount of water has entered inside the cell, plant cell, then it will swallow, right? But the cell wall is there which makes sure that the cell is not bursted. It doesn't just break it apart. So that is the function of our cell wall. And it also allows the water and salts to pass through freely because it is completely permeable for water and salts. So this is something about cell membrane and cell wall. Now next is nucleus. So what is nucleus? So nucleus is circular oval structure which contain DNA in the form of chromosomes. So we just saw that this is our cell, this is nucleus. So nucleus is as a whole circular oval structure and contains DNA in the form of chromosome. If we talk about some other microorganisms or viruses, so they can have RNA as genetic material. So nucleus also contains RNA in the form of chromosomes. Nucleus is present inside the cytoplasm. We already know it that nucleus is in cell organelle which is present inside the cytoplasm. And nucleus controls different processes of the cell. It controls the cell division, cell development and cell activities. Nucleus will decide that when and at what rate the cell will divide, how the cell will develop, and when the cell has to do which performance, like if the cell has to perform enzyme, if the cell has to perform the protein, and all other functions of cell are controlled by the nucleus. Next is vacuole. So we can say that vacuole is a fluid filled cavity surrounded by a membrane. So we saw it in the plant cell. It is very huge in plant cells, right? You can say that it contains salts and sugar, that is called cell sap, the liquid in the cell. Sap means liquid, right? So it contains salts and sugars. So this vacuole contains salts and sugar which is present inside the plant cell. And it also helps the plant or making the plant cells form. So because of the presence of vacuole, the plant cells don't shrink. So it helps to it helps the plant cells to remain in the shape. And plant cells have very large vacuoles while animal cells have small vacuoles, right? Okay. Next is what is chloroplast. So we can see that it is an organelle which contains chlorophyll, right? We already know it. It is present inside the plant cell cytoplasm. We know it. And it traps light energy for photosynthesis, right? And this looks something like this. These are the different parts of the chloroplast, and the basic function is to trap the light for the photosynthesis, because photosynthesis needs light, oxygen and water and carbon dioxide. Okay, so these are the parts of chloroplast. Now let's see what is endoplasmic reticulum. So endoplasmic reticulum looks something like this. Endoplasmic reticulum is always present near the nucleus. So we can say that it is always present near the nucleus. It is of two types: smooth endoplasmic reticulum and rough endoplasmic reticulum. So as you can see, in smooth endoplasmic reticulum, there will be no ribosomes present. And in rough endoplasmic reticulum, you see that these type of ribosomes are present that give the rough appearance to the endoplasmic reticulum, right? So these are the two types of endoplasmic reticulums, and they perform different functions like protein synthesis and lipid synthesis and many other things. So their function can be protein and lipid synthesis. So this is something about endoplasmic reticulum. Now let's see that how cell division occurs in the animal cell. So this is how the whole process of cell division occurs in the animal cell. First, there is a parent cell. In parent cell, by the uptake of nutrition, the nucleus will grow and it will divide into two nucleus. After it divides, there will be a division of cell wall or formation of cell membrane outside the cell. And this is how two daughter cells or two new cells are formed. So in animal cells, this is the process by which daughter cells are formed from the parent cells. Next, let's see that what are the size of specimens. So specimens are something that we have to deal in our laboratory or what we see in the microscope, right? So first, what is hand lens? So it gives the magnification up to 20 times, but this is not sufficient to observe the details in cell. Hand lens means the magnifying glass or anything that we use, but it gives only 20 times magnification, and that is not sufficient to observe the details in the cell because we cannot see the cells by our naked eyes, right? Then we have to use particular instrument, that is microscope. So if we use light microscope, then what will be the configuration of light microscope? So it will have two convex lenses and it can provide magnification up to 1500 times. Imagine 20 times and 1500 times. So we choose always light microscope to observe our cells. And the eyepiece is usually 10 times, right? Eyepiece gives 10 times magnification. And the objective lenses can range in 4 times, 10 times and 40 times magnification. So these are the different parts of microscopes that we have already studied. Now this is the formula by using which we can calculate that how much magnification is given to us by our microscope. So if we want to count the magnification, calculate, we will take the size of image and we will divide the size of image by the actual size of the object. And when we try to calculate the actual size of object, when we want to find it, we will directly use the size of image and then we will divide it by the magnification. So this is how we can calculate the magnification. Now let's compare some sizes and range of different objects, that which object is there which we can see by our naked eye, to observe which object we need microscopes, and like this, right? So this is the image. First, if I want to observe an adult female or male, then I can see that person by my naked eye. I don't need any microscope here, right? No microscope is needed here. Then if I want to see ostrich egg, Okay, so I don't know if you know this. This is the biggest egg in the whole world, right? No egg is bigger than ostrich's egg. So if I want to observe it, even if I want to observe chicken's egg, I don't need any microscope. We can see it by our naked eyes. If I want to see frog egg, then also I can see, right? We can see it till the human egg. But when I move just directly into the plant cells, animal cells, or even human egg cell, or different plant organelles like mitochondria, bacteria, and flu viruses, and many different things, then I need a light microscope. This microscope can help me to visualize all these things. But if I want to specifically say that how my mitochondria is made, how my bacteria is made, or how my animal cell contains different amount of biomolecules like any proteins, lipids, or atoms or molecules, then I want to use the electron microscope. This is very high power microscope, right? It gives high resolution. So these are the different objects, right? So you can get an idea that which objects can be seen by our naked eye. For observing which objects we need microscope, light microscope, and to observe which objects we need electron microscope. Okay. So now let's see what are the possible questions which have been already asked in the previous years. So first it can be asked that explain cell structure and what is present inside it. So you will tell what are the cell organelles which are present in the cell and draw their figure, right? Then next, what is or explain plant cell and animal cell. So you will define plant cell and animal cell first. Let's give their figure, let's define them and give the cell organelles which are present inside the plant cell and animal cell. Next is how to calculate magnification. So we already have the formula for it, right? And then compare the sizes of range of objects. So we just saw it in the previous slide, so you can easily compare them. Right, so this is all from my side. I hope I made you understand these things in a better way. Thank you so much for watching this video. And for more videos like this, you can visit VessarX.com. So till we meet again, take care, stay safe and bye-bye.